The Fair Housing Act was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson on April 11, 1968, 1 week after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. This documentary represents impoverished neighborhoods in Sussex County. These communities are all but forgot. They have limited access and opportunity to key supports for economic growth, safe neighborhoods, and quality jobs. They are predominantly poor Black communities that are isolated and tucked away from sight. Most are unincorporated and do not have the basic amenities that most communities take for granted: paved roads, street lights, trash pickup, and clean water. The Fair Housing Act provided for equal housing opportunities for all by prohibiting discrimination in the sale, rental, and financing of housing based on race, color, religion, or national origin. In 1974, the Act was amended to prohibit discrimination based on sex, and in 1988, it expanded to protect people with disabilities and families with children. The fair housing laws in Delaware provide even more protections, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of creed, marital status, age, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Nearly 50 years after the signing of the Fair Housing Act, far too many Delaware residents still face discrimination in housing choice. Many older residents recall the overt discrimination they faced while growing up here. Younger residents speak of their dreams for the future that sadly may not be fulfilled. That is why the Delaware Division of Human Relations partnered with Pathways to Success to inform and educate the residents of many of Sussex County's most underserved neighborhoods about their rights under fair housing laws. Housing discrimination and residential segregation does more than consign people to a substandard neighborhood. It results in communities of concentrated poverty and denies the deserving a chance to thrive and succeed.
Imagine living your life in this time and not having access to clean running water. And as a result of a law firm, a civil rights law firm in Washington, D.C., Dane, Roman, and Colfax, they filed the case on behalf of this particular community, and they were awarded $11 million. And they obviously had access to running water, and so now everyone takes a shower, right? But that's a right that we have. It's not something that we should have to sue or ask for.
Nationally known for its sandy beaches and millions of tourists who frequent its pristine shores and tax-free stores, in 2012, Sussex County was recognized not for its allure, but for its failure to affirmatively further fair housing. The county agreed to pay $750,000 to a developer who tried since 2008 to build 50 single-family homes near Laurel for low and moderate income families, many of them people of color, but who was stymied by rulings of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Sadly, despite the ultimately favorable ruling, the barriers and delays derailed the project, shattering the dreams of an affordable home for 50 deserving families. A 2011 analysis of impediments to fair housing choice in Delaware found, among other things, that minority households have a greater difficulty becoming homeowners because of lower incomes, and the existing supply of affordable housing is not meeting demand. Public policies implemented in towns and at the county seat contribute to the lack of affordable housing. In 2015, the News Journal wrote, "Sussex County has high-tech companies and highly ranked schools. It boasts vibrant tourism and agricultural sectors, with towns retirees flock to and chickens its farmers grow exported around the world. Its population is on the rise, and its county government hasn't raised property taxes in 25 years. Yet, many Sussex Countyans, Black and white, still have vivid memories of when their hometowns were rigidly segregated by race.
It bothers me. I feel that we're being discriminated against because your homes down here sitting on the water. They're down there hauling sand. The state is hauling sand to help to block those homes from going out in the water. Here we are hauling for money for cancer. I mean, because we have cancer here. We feel that the drinking water will improve our conditions. And who's going to fight for you when you're trying to fight for yourself?
Incredibly, residential segregation continues today in parts of Sussex County, with dozens of struggling communities sharing the land with new gated neighborhoods, country clubs, and golf courses. 50 years of research has found that racially isolated and economically poor neighborhoods restrict employment opportunities for young people, contribute to poor health and higher crime, and deprive people of hope. Where you live matters. Neighborhoods shape their residents' access to social, political, and economic opportunities and resources, and segregated communities have the least access. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Nadab Bynum addresses a group of community residents and leaders regarding the importance of the consolidated planning process. This process serves as the framework for a community-wide dialogue to identify housing and community development priorities.
When it comes to that plan, they can vote any way they want, but I'm telling you, if they have a conscience and they do their due diligence and you've done yours, at the end of the day, what's in that consolidated plan that we see will be a plan that will ensure fair and equal housing opportunities for its residents. It will not lend itself to discrimination. It will be a plan that's out there doing what it's supposed to do in order to improve the lives of those low and moderate income families, giving them opportunities that they never imagined they could have. You are the ones that can make that difference. Please don't be fooled by the man in the suit or the whatever with the title. That's secondary. What's important is the work that you do in working with the individuals like Brad to make sure your communities, as Melanie and Ramona has said, are getting their fair share.
Each of us, no matter your age, is going to set the stage for those yet to come. What legacy do you want to leave? You have a responsibility because you have a responsibility to those who came before you, who did the best that they could in their time, right? We're now in your time, and you have to do the best that you can for the next generation.
The answer to what legacy we leave behind is rooted in educating every resident about their fair housing rights. It's rooted in our vision and desire for our children and for their children to grow up in healthy and vibrant communities of opportunity. It's rooted in our commitment to eliminating the barriers and behaviors that have kept too many of Delaware's residents separate and unequal.
There's a railroad that runs through Georgetown, the white side and the black side, okay? Mr. Harry Crapper said to me, can you help us do something about getting these tracks paved? So I went out there and I looked, and they had potholes this deep. I mean, he told me some people had lost the wheels of their cars and things of that sort going over these. I went over to the white side, and they were all paved. They were fine, but nothing had been done about these tracks.
What I'm going to ask you to close your eyes, however, and I want you to visualize what it would be like to either drive into the community of your dream or driving into your community. And typically when I have this conversation, I'm in a room with predominant people who are affluent. And when they close their eyes, and I ask them what do they see when they're driving into their communities, and they have wonderful paved roads, and they have grocery stores, They have dry cleaners in their neighborhoods, right? And they're pulling their nice cars into their driveways. But when we think about rural community, right, the communities that I know, the communities I've driven in and grew up in, right, we didn't have paved roads. We didn't have street lights or sidewalks. There weren't grocery stores in our neighborhoods. And those are the things that you have a duty to, the county and the states have a duty to provide those particular things in your neighborhoods. And when we talk about affirmatively furthering fair housing, those are things that everyone should be entitled to, and it's an entitlement to opportunity.
Melody Taylor Blanchard refers to many of these underserved communities as invisible. They're referred to in this way because often they're intentionally blocked from sight or simply ignored. The mission of the Office of Human Relations and the State Human Relations Commission is to eliminate unlawful discrimination and to foster amicable relationships among the diverse populations of Delaware. Our primary objective is to ensure equal opportunity for all people in Delaware by protecting against practices that discriminate on the basis of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, and familial status. Persons with disability, age, marital status, creed, sexual orientation, and gender identity. When every resident has the opportunity to live in strong, resilient, and inclusive communities, ones that provide safe and affordable housing, high-performing schools, and employment opportunities to its members, the entire state benefits.
Fair housing. Well, what does it mean to me? Back in the day, some people would say it is a neighborhood where rich white people live, with no one of color living on their block. So I asked myself, where are us blacks today? Well, I'll tell you, we are somewhere struggling, screaming for someone to come and help us, praying that we will get rescued from the community that seems to be invisible to everyone else. Communities that have poor lighting and dirt roads and houses that don't even look inviting to live in. Communities that are ridden with crime. Communities whose residents have lost hope. Unfortunately, here in Sussex County, our screams and cries for help seem to fall on deaf ears. Our answer is worse than response of no. Our answer is simply silence. That is what we hear. Silence.